Hey everyone, we're Fire and Ash.
My name is Sapphire.
And I'm Ashley.
Today we're going to be talking to you about spider mites. Spider mites are annoying pests that feed on your plant. They're very small, they're about 1 millimeter in length, and they actually can produce 20 babies a day, and that is some crazy reproduction, and that's why the infestation can spread so fast. The eggs usually take about 3 days to hatch, and then they can mature into an adult in about 5 days after that. Now from that point on, they can lay 20 eggs a day and they can live 2 to 4 weeks. So you can imagine how fast they can reproduce in your home environment or even outside. The reason why they're so damaging is because they can puncture the cell walls of your plant. That leaves your plant weak and it leaves it open to getting other infections. It basically weakens your plant's immune system.
Definitely. They are honestly one of the smallest, most powerful pests, and they're really tricky too because they actually hide out on the underside of the foliage of a plant. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how you can identify different spider mites, and we're also going to talk to you about possible preventatives and treatments as well if you do find spider mites in your home or on your plants. Now, they're not only indoors, but they're outside as well, okay? Now, under the right conditions, spider mites thrive in dry, really kind of dusty, unkept areas, especially warm areas. Now, we're located here in Phoenix, Arizona, so you can imagine we live in the desert.
They love it here.
It's hot. It's hot. It's dry.
Yeah.
We live in the desert, so it's somewhat inevitable.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to spider mites living in those warm, dry climates, we have a couple different tips and tricks we're going to share with you, what you can do in your home, and a couple tips and tricks for outdoors as well. Now, spider mites can be found underneath the foliage of your plants here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you on the underside of your leaves here or foliage is where you're going to want to check to see, do I have spider mites? Oftentimes, if a plant has spider mites, you're not going to realize it. It's not something that's flying in your face. It's not something that's super large in the soil. So sometimes you have to go looking for it. We recommend getting a magnifying glass, actually. That's come in handy so much because it is a mite. They are very, very small. As Sapphire said earlier, they're under 1 millimeter small. So super tiny. Now, when overlooking your plants, anytime I rearrange, upkeep on a plant, clean it, water it, I'll always check it out. Check out the plant, check out its beauty, but also check for pests. We have to. So I'll look on the underside of all of the leaves here, all this foliage. Now, when you have a textured plant like this one here, the Enjoy, you want to look in those crevices and those creases as well, especially if it's textured foliage. Spider mites will hide out anywhere, not just on the underside of the leaves of the foliage. So looking for the mites is crucial because you're not always going to see the mites crawling around, obviously. Now, sometimes you'll see webbing or small white specks, and that's a strong indicator of spider mites for sure. Now, they are found in different colors. There's red, green, blue, and yellow spider mites. So there's all sorts of different kinds of spider mites. And there's going to be webbing. That's one indicator that you have spider mites. And then also the little white specks are going to be some of the eggs. Now, once you see some of the webbing going up, you have a big issue because they are putting up their defense against other predators. Yep. Yeah. And then you know that your spider mite issue is big.
Yeah, and you want to make sure you're quarantining those plants. If you notice spider mites on one of your plants, you're going to want to check any other plants that were close to it, in close proximity that might have been touching it. Just make sure you're checking all of the undersides of those leaves. And then you also want to keep those plants in an area that's separated from the rest of your plants until you can fully treat them, because the spider mites can spread so fast they're actually so lightweight that they can fly through the air. They come in through your window cracks. They come in through your air conditioner vents. Like, they're everywhere. So it's very important that you're always checking. And anytime you find some, look in the neighboring areas, because it's so easy for them to get from point A to point B.
Definitely, especially thriving in those proper conditions. You know, if you keep your home 80 degrees or higher, oh yeah, spider mites are definitely thriving 80 degrees or higher. If your foliage is unkept, dry and dusty, I know it's a full-time job taking care of all of our plants, wiping each and every single leaf. You know, there's 50 leaves on here. Like, each plant, you know, takes its own set of time. And so one of the things that we found that for like a general like care and almost like preventative, we found that like misting the foliage is super beneficial, because the mites don't like humidity. They don't like moisture. So obviously, if your plant is on the corner or on the shelf and it's getting dry and a little dusty, that's the perfect condition for spider mites. So, keeping your home at a cooler temperature, proper care for the plant, just like general maintenance, wiping the foliage and keeping it moist. And when I say humidity, I'm not just talking about, adding a humidifier here and there, because, I'm talking about the actual moisture on the foliage. We want to maintain just a light bit of moisture on our plants early in the morning, so then that way it can prevent from those dry loving pests and add that moisture to the foliage as well.
So for treatment of your spider mite, there's a lot of options. A couple things we like to use, neem oil is great. We can just wipe down our leaves with neem oil. You want to wipe the tops and bottoms of your plants regularly. It's going to have multiple benefits. First of all, if your plant gets a layer of dust on it, not only does that attract spider mites and other pests, but it also acts as a sunblock. So wiping down your plants regularly with neem oil is going to kill any mites that are up there, but it also helps you get rid of a layer of dust, so it allows your plant to absorb light at maximum efficiency. So one thing that we really like to use is a mixture of alcohol and water. This simple solution is going to kill any spider mites on contact. You simply put water in a dish like this, and then you mix in a little bit of alcohol, and then you just dip a rag in here and you wipe down your plants with it. It's going to kill them on contact, and it actually will keep them away if you do it regularly, and it keeps your plants clean, so it's a win-win.
Definitely. We love those two treatments. We've also found that because we did have just a couple brief cases of spider mites, we found that we actually took the plant out of the home and sprayed the foliage down. So like thoroughly washing the foliage, not just wiping it down or misting the leaves, but we found that to treat this plant, it was to the point where we actually had to spray it down, like hose it down. It was a smaller plant.
With a hose, yeah.
Yep, definitely.
And they're so small, the spider mites are so small that if you just hose down your plants, they're definitely going to come off.
Yes,
so that's one of the easiest and fastest ways to get rid of them. You just hose down your plant, give it a little bit of pressure to make sure that you're actually knocking off, because they have webs and stuff, and those webs are meant to protect them. And if you don't get all the webbing off, there's likely going to be spider mites still on your plant. So just make sure you're spraying it thoroughly. You can even spray your plant and then after that go back and wipe it down after that, just to be very thorough. But spider mites are very easy to get rid of on your individual plants. But the reason why they're hard to get rid of in mass is because they're so undetectable. So you might not see them, but you might still have them. So it's important that once you start seeing little webs or you see spots, which could come in different colors, brown, yellow, red. So once you do those little diagnostic inspections with your magnifying glass, you're really going to be able to know if you have them and how to treat them.
Definitely. We have to be aware, checking out our plants, looking them over, and just that general care, it's super important, because spider mites are kind of, they're like almost invisible.
Yeah.
They're so small.
And they actually kill your plants. Like they straight up steal your plant's nutrition. Like they bite the cell walls.
Yep, they're puncturing that cell wall.
Yeah, so they're very damaging. They're not harmless the same way that fungus gnats are usually. spider mites, and especially when you start getting a larger infestation, you imagine that if you have 1 or 2 leaves and you have 200 or 300 spider mites feeding on those leaves, like that can cause damage so fast to your plant, and once it spreads, it's really hard to get rid of. So the best method of preventing and being proactive is to regularly wipe down your plants, but then to also regularly inspect them. Detecting it is the one of the best things you can do.
Definitely. We have to be aware. We were just leaving the house the other day to go run some errands, and I noticed some webbing on my neighbor's bush that one of our vehicles was next to, and I noticed there were mass clusters of spider mites just totally invading this bush outside. And so the bush was treated. We did help get rid of the spider mites, but it's one of those things where they're not just indoors, they're outdoors as well. So they can come in on your shoes, your clothing, not just through the vents, but the windows as well. So it's one of those things where not wearing your shoes indoors is a simple preventative. If you've been to a nursery or if you've been dealing with plants, you want to make sure that you're changing your clothing before touching your plants, that are safe there at home. So it's just one of those things that we have to be aware of because they are so difficult to detect because it's hard to see them.
And something that's crazy is that they can actually survive on your clothes for like a week. So you won't even know. You could go to a nursery, like she said, and spider mites could get on your shirt. You can come home, maybe you don't wash that shirt immediately, maybe you throw it down in your room somewhere. Those spider mites are now in your house and you just brought them in on your shirt without knowing. So it's important that if you come into contact with any plants outside your home, just be wary that you could be actually transferring spider mites into your house when you go back. So I would just say, be aware of that. Maybe you get home, change that shirt, maybe wash it if you're going to a nursery, or maybe take it off before you can get in the house if you want to be super careful.
Change your whole outfit.
just change your clothes before you come back inside.
Definitely. We have to be conscious of that, and just with like illnesses with people too. So definitely we have to care for them, and spider mites are real.
So if you guys have any questions about anything we discussed in the video today, don't hesitate to reach out. We love talking about this stuff. We love sharing our knowledge with you. Please like and comment, and please also subscribe if you're getting value from these videos. We have so much more knowledge to share with you guys. We're also going to be doing some giveaways soon up here, so stay tuned, stick around, and we would love to see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. We're Fire and Ash.